So I'm working on my daily newsletter, and I'm covering the 4 things you got to do to control the sale, to control the process, to control the mind of the people you're dealing with. And in today's newsletter, which if you signed up for, you'd get in a couple of weeks, but you would see number 1. And to understand it, let's go back a little bit. In September of 2006, I bought the domain name, The Sales Whisperer. I was literally watching The Dog Whisperer back when he had it. Caesar Milan had that, and then he got divorced, and I guess his wife owned half, so it's now Caesar's way. So stay married if you want to save your money. But I was watching The Dog Whisperer, and I remember he said that he trains. What does he say? He rehabilitates dogs and trains their owners. And I was like, hey, I do that with salespeople. But and I bought the domain name that day. And but if you watch his show, I haven't watched it recently, but I'm sure it's the same. He gets called into some tough situations, and the dogs are going crazy. And look, it's always the owner's fault. They are not good pack leaders, right? They don't set a good example. And you see all the time, dogs are misbehaving. They're anxious, they're aggressive, and the owners are, they're there, little Poochie, little Fido. It's okay. They're reinforcing that bad habit. But then Caesar would come in, right? And he would stand there, hold the chain, and just wait until they calm down. And then once he had their attention, if they looked away, if they got distracted, he would always go, psst, and he'd poke them in the ribs, poke them in the neck, which I wish we could do to prospects sometimes, but I digress. And so that's number 1. It's number 1 to control dogs and train them. It's number 1 to control your prospects. How do you get their attention? How do you keep their attention? How do you keep them focused on you? And one of the worst things that you can do in person, if you're at a company and maybe you're doing a lunch and learn or something, but if you pass out literature, if you pass out demo gear, something for them to fidget with, you're done. Okay. And I've always said, if you're getting the same objections over and over again, I guarantee you are telegraphing it. You are inviting, you are welcoming, you are encouraging those objections to come into your life. Okay. So if you show up and you start passing out flyers and literature and brochures and demos or whatever, you're done. These prospects are no longer looking at you. They're no longer engaging. You might as well give them little fidget spinners. Just sit back, pour yourself a vodka Red Bull, and just see what happens. So you got to keep the eyes on you. Now, a lot of times you're meeting over the internet. So have an agenda ahead of time, right? Request and even insist that they have their cameras on. Okay, and remain unmuted. And you need to know who's showing up, have a clear agenda, show up early, ensure you have a good sound system, good lighting, good camera, good backdrop. Okay, everything that's appropriate for the audience, for the sale, the persona that you are, the persona that you're going after. Okay, so you've got to set all those things in your favor. If you're using slides, I remember I learned from Jeffrey Gitomer years ago. He said, slides are free, you build another one. So his point was, you need to have super big font, okay, and more images than anything, in such a way that if your slide deck got stolen by your main competitor, they couldn't use it. Okay, so the images are there to convey a message, create a feeling, to remind you, to jog your memory. Okay, and then, some bullets, some words, but if your slides are full of text, you're done. And on these slides, if you are talking more than 30 or 45 seconds, you've got to read the room. You need to be soliciting feedback, asking questions, inviting attendee participation. Okay. If you're talking too much, I wrote the new ABCs of selling, and one of them is always be concise. Okay. Get your prospects, get your audience involved. But again, if you have a clear agenda, you understand what the give and take is. When I show up in person, 9 times out of 10, I'm showing up with a notepad, a pen, a couple of pens, something to drink. That's it. Okay, I'm there to ascertain, to diagnose. I'm there to share some stories, share some insight, but to elicit from the prospect what is going on, right? Just like a doctor, like, what is going on? Doctors don't show up with brochures and pie charts and PowerPoint. They're like, how can I help you? Why are you here? You've got to take that same approach. And that's that bedside manner that we always hear about, right? Does the patient feel heard and understood? I was just watching this show with my wife, and it was a medical show, and one of the scenarios was we must improve patient satisfaction, and the head guy said, pull up a chair and sit down, like be face to face, and that makes sense. You've got to look at the environment. Can you literally sit on the same side of the table as a prospect without it feeling weird? If you have a desk, come around the other side. Don't have that in between you. If you're at a trade show, I recommend pushing the tables to the, well, what would that be? I guess to the back of the booth, next to the stands, the displays, so you can be out front and not have a table, not have anything in between you and the prospect. And if you notice, airlines have kind of done this. A lot of hotels have done this. They've taken away the big, solid desk and put little stands, like little openings, and the person checking you in can slide around, and they literally will come around and open up the little key thing and show you your room, have a little map of the facility. They'll show you where the coffee and the workout room is. Same reason, right? Creating that connection. But you can't create that connection if they're not looking at you, if they're not listening, if they're not paying attention. And again, on video, if you're looking at the slides too much and not, I recommend you have multiple screens, 3 screen. I've got an iPad here. I've got 2 screens, and I can project to a third. You've got to be literally monitoring the room, taking the temperature of the room so you understand what's going on. Okay. So if you're at a networking event, again, show up early. Don't be eating. It's okay to have a drink. It's okay to have something, that's appropriate for the situation. But I'd recommend, water, coffee, iced tea, soda, not drinking alcohol, because you got to stay on your game. And your job is to disqualify these prospects. Your job is to collect business cards, not give yours out. Then you can follow up. Okay. But again, number one, I'll do this as a series. I'll keep these short, but keep their attention. Poke them in the rib, poke them in the neck. Get them to focus on you. If you do that, you're going to make every sale. I guarantee. Thanks for watching. I'll go sell something.